I'm going to come onto the space of our back on our mats, starting off in what we refer to as Shavasana. This is the pose that we will also finish class in. It's our resting pose. So just getting comfortable here. We will be spending a little bit of time on our backs. So if you want to grab something to prop up and place underneath your knees, or maybe roll up a blanket or a towel and place it underneath your neck. But just finding as comfortable as possible on your back. And so this is our fundamental movements class. It's a beginning level class, and we'll be really focusing on primarily just getting connected with our bodies and connecting the breath and the mind with our bodies. And sometimes the hardest part of our practice is just showing up on our mats, making it here right now and making time for yourselves. And a few of us were talking before getting on about just kind of the weight of the world right now and all of the events that are happening. And I just want to give you permission to feel whatever you're feeling about that, whether it be sadness or heaviness in the heart, or maybe you feel the weight and responsibility to act. Or maybe you feel nothing, and this next 45 minutes is really going to be just you being present and escaping those moments. And I hope that's what this is going to be. I hope we take this time together to nourish your body, nourish your mind. And that way we can show up and better serve the world. So go ahead and close your eyes. And let's just do a quick scan of the body, starting from the feet. So checking in with your toes, checking in with the soles of the feet and the heel, maybe feeling the air on your feet if you are not wearing socks. And if you're wearing socks or have covering over your feet, maybe the cloth and material around your feet. Feeling the contact with the earth. And traveling up the ankle, the calf, your shin. Observing the negative space as well as the space that is touching something, whether it's the earth or your body, another part of your body. And traveling up to the knees, the front of the knees, the kneecaps, the back of the knee. Coming up the thighs, your quads, your hamstrings, coming up to the glutes and the hips, the front of your hip points, your belly, the belly button, the length of your torso, the space just below your low ribs, your low back, maybe that small little arch, that space between your low back and the earth. Your thoracic, the upper part of the back, your rib cage, the chest, your pecs, your collarbone, your shoulders, the arms, the inside of the arms, the elbows, the inside of the elbow, and the forearm, the hands, your fingers, Taking notice of all 10 fingers, maybe even just wiggle one at a time. The throat, the space of the back of the neck, the head resting on the earth, your jaw, maybe open the jaw, open the mouth, release the jaw, release the tension that you might be holding there. Your cheeks, your cheekbones, your mouth, your nose, your eye sockets, your eyebrows, your forehead, the top of the head. And then just noticing the breath now. Observing the natural rise and fall of the breath in the body and where that might be. So if the rise and the fall is in the chest or in the belly, maybe you hold your breath in your shoulders, but just observing, no judgment about where that is, just observing the breath. Notice maybe the temperature of the breath. Maybe it's warm, maybe cool. Does your breath have a texture? Maybe soft or moist or a little raspy. Maybe you can hear your breath. Maybe a soft whisper through your nose, through your nasal cavity. And just imagine that beautiful energy, the oxygen that you are consuming, inhaling. And your lungs and your heart are traveling that beautiful oxygen, that beautiful energy, that magic prana, that life force traveling through your body. And maybe imagine that breath, that prana, that oxygen, touching all the points of the body that we just traveled. So maybe starting from the top and working your way down, imagining the life, that energy, that oxygen filling the body from head to toe. I'm going to give you a moment to envision that and let your body fill with that beautiful energy, that beautiful life force. If you're still working the breath through the body, go ahead and stay with that visualization. But we're going to do, when you're ready, we're going to do a breath practice together, some breath work. This is one of my very favorite breathing and meditation techniques. So this is something that you could try even in a few moments that you have in the morning, before bed, or anytime during the day to help reset the nervous system. And our breath helps us tap into the parasympathetic nervous system. And that is the system, the part of the body that allows us to relax and de-stress and feel good. So the breath I'm going to guide today is, I refer to it as box breathing. I think it's also referred to as square breath or square breathing. So we're going to take equal parts, inhale, hold, exhale, and hold again. So I'll give you an example. So we're going to do on the count of 4. So I'm going to inhale on the count of 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold. 1, 2, 3, 4. Exhale. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold. 1, 2, 3, 4. So we're going to do that in that rhythm. I will count for you. So your inhale will be the length of the count. Your hold will be the length of the count. Your exhale will be the length of the count. And your final hold will be the length of the count. And so if at any time this becomes cumbersome or uncomfortable, or maybe my counting is too fast or it's too slow, feel free to modify that count. So let's start by taking a cleansing breath together. So wherever you are in your breathing, let's release all of the oxygen from the lungs. Take a deep, big inhale in. Fill up the lungs to the top. Hold it. Take in one more sip. Open mouth, let go. Take your first inhale for a count of 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold. 4, 3, 2, 1. Exhale. 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold. 4, 3, 2, 1. Inhale. 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold. 4, 3, 2, 1. Exhale. 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold. 4, 3, 2, 1. Exhale. Inhale. 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold. 4, 3, 2, 1. Exhale. Hold. I'm sorry. 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold. 4, 3, 2, 1. Inhale. 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold. 4, 3, 2, 1. Exhale. 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold. 4, 3, 2, 1. Inhale. 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold. 4, 3, 2, 1. Exhale. 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold. 4, 3, 2, 1. Now I invite you to keep this going. We'll let you take a couple more rounds on your own and with your own count. If this is uncomfortable, you don't want to follow the square breath, go ahead and just come back to the mindful observation of the breath, just connecting with the breath. I'm going to give you a couple of moments just to breathe and tap into your breath here. Wherever you are, go ahead and finish your last round of breaths. And then come back to your normal breathing pattern. And then we're going to come over onto our sides. So any side is fine. You're just rolling onto your left or your right side. We're going to come into kind of a fetal position, maybe allowing the head to rest onto the arm. And we're just going to pause here. We've been on our backs for some time. So maybe noticing how the back feels with the air the back no longer touching to the earth. I'm just pausing here. We are going to start getting into our movement, the movement part of our practice. We'll be coming back onto our backs. But I invite you to stay here for at least 2 more rounds of breath. So just staying here and connecting with the breath and observing how the body feels in this moment, in this pose. And then when you're ready, meeting back on, coming back onto your back. Legs go down the length of the mat. And then take your hands and let's place our hands on our belly. So we're going to take our hands and place them just below our navel, or maybe the thumbs are touching the navel and then the hands are resting on the low belly. And I want you to start sending your breath there. So your inhales, we're going to send the breath to rise the belly. And then on your exhale, releasing all of the air and then contracting the belly, drawing the navel into the spine, drawing the navel all the way in. And then inhale, expanding the belly. Exhale, drawing the navel into the spine, releasing all of the air, really tightening in those abs. Inhale, expanding the belly. Exhale, drawing the navel into the spine. Releasing getting all of that air out of the lungs. Do that 2 more times on your own breath. And then we're going to start to press the low back into the mat. Now, if this feels uncomfortable, you can take your hands and just kind of shimmy them to provide some support on the sacrum underneath where that little plate is at the very small of your back, the very bottom of your back. And we're going to do some core exercise here. So pressing the low back in, we're going to draw the knees into the chest and then reach the heels to the sky. So now with the hips or with the low back pressing into the earth, we're going to draw that navel into the spine again. So we're really strong and active here. We're going to keep a really tight core, okay? We're going to alternate, let me demo. We're going to alternate leg lifts and lowers. So dropping the right heel down, allowing it to hover off of the earth, coming back up. Allowing the left heel to drop down to the earth, coming back up. Hands, again, can either be underneath the hips on the sacral joint, or they can be planted down on the earth, on your sides, next to your sides. Really pressing those arms and hands into the mat as well. And then if going too far, if going down an inch off the mat feels uncomfortable on the low back, or if your low back starts to lift, only go as far as feels comfortable in your body before the back starts to lift. So maybe that's a shorter distance coming down on your lift and lowers. And we're going to do these for a couple rounds of breath, left and right. These look really good, ladies. Great job. Lots of wisdom in our class tonight. I love it. And then we're going to pause once you finish on the next time you finish on your left side, pause And then draw your knees into your chest and wrap your arms around your knees. Draw your knees in for a squeeze. And then whichever side you had rolled onto after we were laying down, you're going to take the opposite side. So if you rolled over onto the left, you're going to roll over onto your right, and you're going to pause. I'm going to hold here. Again, now observing maybe how this space feels differently on that side. How it might feel with the breath now in the back side of the body. And when you're ready, pressing yourself all the way up, we're going to come up and meet in tabletop. So hands are stacked below shoulders. Shoulders are stacked over wrists. And then knees are about hips distance apart, stacked below the hip points. We're going to take a couple rounds of cat and cow. So again, really connecting with our core, with our belly here. So before we get started, just from this tabletop position, start to draw the navel in toward the spine. So really feel that connection, that firing up of our core. I'm going to take an inhale, hammock the belly, but see if you can still keep that connection, really activating the core. So it's almost like an active cow pose. So hammocking the belly, tilting the hips to the sky, tilting the sit bones to the sky, and then reaching the heart forward. Pausing here. Sending the breath to the belly. So maybe you feel the expansion in the belly when you inhale. And then when you exhale, drawing the belly button in toward the spine. And then on your next exhale, round the spine, cat pose, tilting the hips down toward the earth, allowing the crown of the head to be heavy, lifting out of the shoulders here. And again, even in this flexed spine position with our spine reaching to the sky, check in with the belly. See if you can draw that navel into the belly, into the spine, and keeping that core active. Sending the breath to the belly. Seeing if you can use that exhale to find a deeper contraction and a deeper connection. Inhale, we'll take another cow pose. So tilting the hips to the sky, reaching the heart forward, and allowing the belly to hammock. See if you can find this bend in the upper part of your back. We want to avoid any dumping in the low back. So this isn't a really big bend in the low back. We're really trying to lift the heart forward so that the bend is in the upper part of the back. But we should feel a nice stretch in the belly here. Your next exhale, round the spine, coming back to cat pose. Releasing the crown of the head. Tilting the hips, tailbone down to the earth. And then inhale, cow. Exhale, cat. Let's do 2 more rounds like that. Inhale, cow. Exhale, cat pose. Last round, inhale, cow. Exhale, cat. Take another inhale. And then exhale, sink your hips back, resting your bum on top of your feet, coming into child's pose. So releasing the forehead to the earth, allowing your arms to extend out long in front of you, or maybe releasing them down by your sides, finding some relief off of our shoulders here, and allowing the hands to cup around the heels. I call this our wisdom pose. This is the pose that we come back to when we need to pause, when we need to find rest, when we get lost in our practice, When our mind wanders or feels frazzled, we can come back here to reconnect with the breath and reconnect with the body. Let's roll our forehead out here. This might feel really nice. So just rocking the forehead from side to side. So maybe massaging that space of the third eye. Our third eye is the energy center for our intuition and where we receive and process information. And kind of referring back to just everything that's happening in the world, there's so much going on. We're receiving so much data and so much information. Even that in and of itself is overwhelming. So let's acknowledge that and give that energy center a little bit of love. Okay. Pause the rocking of the forehead. And then when you're ready, coming back up to tabletop pose. Checking in once again with our alignment. So just making sure that shoulders are stacked over wrists. Knees are about knees are about hips distance apart and stacked below hips. Really lift out of the shoulders here. So we want to avoid any type of sinking. We really want to lift up and out of our shoulders. So it's very strong and active in our upper body. And then draw the navel into the spine again. And we're going to challenge our balance a little bit this evening. So extending the right heel long behind you, tucking the toes and allowing the ball of the right foot to rest on the mat behind you. So your right leg is long and extended out behind you. And then just checking in with your hip points. So seeing if maybe when you extended that right leg out, maybe you opened up the hip a little bit, but see if you can draw both hip points down toward the mat, keeping them in line and both of them looking down at the mat, just like your eyes. Option to stay here. If you feel as though you are working and challenging your core here, you can stay here just as you are. If you'd like to challenge your balance a little bit more, you're going to inhale and reach the right heel up. So the right leg is coming straight out of that right hip socket, and you're reaching energetically out behind you through that right heel. Foot is flexed and the toes are pointed down toward the earth. And again, just checking in with that hip point, making sure that it didn't open up and that it's still pointing down toward the earth. Avoid any sinking in the back and the low back. Again, we're lifting out of our shoulders and our spine is long and strong. Draw the navel up and in. If you'd like to challenge the balance a little bit more, we're going to reach the left arm out in front of us like we're shaking someone's hand. Very nice. So the left arm is coming straight out of that shoulder socket. And again, checking in with the hips, checking in with the length of the spine, reaching energetically out through that right heel and out through the left fingertips. Release everything back down to the earth. Allow the left hand to meet the right. Sink our hips back, coming into a child's pose, taking a pause here. Releasing the forehead to the earth. And let's take a cleansing breath together. So releasing any air that's currently in your lungs. And then fill up the lungs to the top. So inhale, hold. Take in one more sip. Open mouth, exhale, let it go. Coming back up to tabletop. And let's do that on the other side. So extending the left leg out long behind us, allowing the left toes to tuck and resting on the ball of the left foot onto the mat. Left leg is long and active, and then just checking in with that hip point, noticing if it opened up to the left, and see if you can draw the hip points down together facing toward the mat. Lifting out of the shoulders, draw the navel in toward the spine. Option to stay here. If you'd like to challenge that balance again, you can reach that left heel to the sky behind you. Left leg is coming out from that left hip socket. Foot is flexed and toes are pointing down toward the earth. Beautiful. If you'd like to challenge your balance a little bit more, getting light on the finger on the right hand, reaching the right arm out in front of you. So that right arm coming straight out of that right shoulder socket, and then reaching energetically out through the fingertips. Draw the navel up and in. Really activate your core here. Release everything back down to the mat. Sink the hips back. Take a child's pose. Check in with the body. Notice how you're feeling. Notice if anything has come up for you. It's important that we honor the differences in each of our bodies. So what your poses look like are going to be different than what everyone else is going to look like. And honoring that and appreciating that. And then when you're ready, coming back up to tabletop. And I'm going to demo plank pose for you guys. And you have an option of taking plank with the knees down, but I at least want you to start in a high plank pose and then release the knees down. So that way you get the right length and shape. So we want the hips to be about shoulder height, and we're lifting out of the arms, pressing all 10 fingers into the mat. Heels are reaching toward the sky and the legs are strong, lifted, and active. Again, you can release the knees to the earth for supported plank. There's still plenty of work to be done in that pose too. Draw the navel up and in. And whichever variation you took, we're going to lift our hips, pushing our hips all the way back, coming into downward facing dog. And let's just spend a couple moments here checking in with our alignment and checking in with this pose. So hands, again, just like in our tabletop, are about shoulder distance apart. The index finger is pointing toward the top of the mat, and you're pressing into all 10 fingers. Lifting out of the shoulders. And check in with that navel. Draw that navel into the spine. All of our poses are active with our core. So drawing the navel into the spine, lifting the hips to the sky. Feet are about hips distance apart. And so hips distance means about a fist and a half. So I know us ladies, we think we have these wide hips, but hips distance is not that far. So it's about a fist and a half of space between your toes. Keeping a slight bend in the knees, and then reach your heels to the earth. No bonus points if your heels touch. I always say if your heels touch the earth, it means you have to work harder than everyone else. This is your downward facing dog. Gaze is directly in front of you, so your head is an extension of your spine here. It's long, it's not craning back toward your feet. It's not looking ahead. The spine is long and in line with, the head is long and in line with the spine. Breathe here, holding this pose. Start to walk the hands back toward the feet, coming into a forward fold at the back of the mat. Release the crown of the head, allow the head to be heavy. The crown of the head is reaching down toward the earth. Hands are on the earth or maybe clasping around ankles or calves. We want to make sure that our shoulders, though, are not sinking up toward our ears. We want to slide the shoulders back down onto the back. There's space between our shoulders and our ears. Maybe a slight bend in the knees, allowing the torso to rest on the thighs. And maybe that slight bend is actually a really deep bend, and that's perfectly fine too. Again, honoring that each of our bodies are different, unique, and the shapes that we all make are going to look different than everyone else's. So honoring what your body needs here. We're going to slowly rise up one vertebrae at a time, coming to a standing pose, coming into our mountain pose. And so in mountain, we'll have our hands down by our sides here. Feet again are about hips distance apart. So maybe just even checking. So maybe making a fist, and then I take my other fist and I just kind of put these two together and I say this is a fist and a half. And then placing that in between my toes, in between my big toes, my two big toe mounds. And that's about a fist and a half. Okay, so that's the distance that we want in our down dog, in our plank, and our mountain pose, and where we're going next, which is our chair pose. So in chair, we'll inhale, reach our hands to the sky, and sink our hips low. And then checking in with our knees, making sure that the knees are behind the toes. We want to avoid any unnecessary tension or pressure on the knees. So the knees are going to be behind the toes. You can always lift out to modify this pose, or sinking a little bit deeper for a challenge. Make it easy before you make it hard. And then arms are reaching to the sky. And again, avoiding any hugging of the shoulders up to the ears. See if you can slide the shoulders down the back. And if that means that you've got to take a wider shape with your arms, you can allow your arms to come out a little bit wider. Another option is to bring your hands down to heart center. We're almost done here, guys. Draw the navel into the spine. These look good. And then exhale, rise all the way up, coming back into our mountain pose. Close the eyes, check in. Noticing the rhythm of your breath. Noticing the heart. Inhale, reach your hands to the sky, upward salute. Exhale, find a slight bend in the knees, hinging forward at the hips, coming back to your forward fold, and then walking the hands back out, coming into downward facing dog. Release the knees to the earth. Sink the hips back, coming into your child's pose. Allow the forehead to rest on the earth. Draw the arms down along your sides, cupping your heels. We have very little bit of work left. When you're ready, meeting onto our backs. Release the legs down the length of the mat. And then we're actually going to step the feet out wide. So take them as wide as you want. We are intentionally taking up space here. So the feet will come off of the mat. If you want a wide leg posture, taking your legs out wide, and then your arms are going to come up overhead. And again, same thing. So what I like to envision here is a starfish or a star. And that's what you are tonight. We're all stars. Closing the eyes. We have one last little bit of work to do, and then we can enjoy our final resting pose of Shavasana. But maybe start to draw in a little bit of gratitude for the time that you made for yourself this evening to connect with your body, to give the mind meaningful connection, and to nurture yourself. Go ahead and start to walk the feet back together. Allow the arms to come down by the sides. We're going to bend the knees and walk the feet in. So feet are about hips distance apart and about 1 foot to 2 feet out in front of the glutes. And we're actually going to heel toe the feet out to the width of the mat. So your feet are standing the width of the mat, knees are pointing toward the sky. Allow the arms to come out to the side like a T. Take an inhale. And then exhale, releasing the knees down to the left. Enjoying a nice little stretch in the side body here. Maybe noticing here the rise and falls of the breath, where they're landing now. Can you send that breath to the belly, into that side? Inhale, come back to center. And then exhale, switching sides, allowing the legs to fall over to the right. Inhale, come back to center. Draw the knees into the chest. And let's just take a final squeeze here before we release into our final rest. So wrapping the arms around the hands around the shins, the knees, drawing the forehead into the knees here. Take a deep inhale, fill up the lungs. Take in one more sip. Open mouth, let it go. Release the legs to the length of the mat, coming into your Shavasana. If you started class with a prop underneath you, I invite you to take that here, making this position very comfortable. So our Shavasana pose is the pose that we take at the end of our practice that allows us to absorb and take in the work that we just put in on our mats. So I know it's very common to use this pose to drift off and get a quick snooze in, but I do invite you to stay present with the body instead of drifting off. So connecting with the breath, noticing just your natural breath, and noticing the humming, the buzzing, and all of the feelings and sensations that are coming up in your body. And so I'll leave you to rest. And when the next time you hear my voice, I will invite you out of Shavasana.
Go ahead and start to come back. Maybe inviting some gentle movements back into the body. Maybe a deeper breath. And if you would like to finish class just as you are welcome to stay laying down. You can also do some boat lifts and lowers like Susan. I didn't give you enough core. Oh yeah, okay. Dawn is getting in there too. If you would like to join me and finish class in a seat today, I invite you to roll over onto a side or roll on up. And in traditional fashion, bringing hands to heart center, Anjali Mudra. And ladies, it is truly an honor for me to share this practice and to be part of your journeys, and even to have a window into your world. And it's kind of funny to be on this Zoom and to say that, but I truly mean it's an honor to share a window into each of your worlds. Your lights are each individually beautiful, so thank you. The light in me sees and honors the light in each of you. Namaste.